Berlin's latest overture to Athens sketches more than a straightforward arms sale. It is a tightly bundled modernization strategy that mixes near-term readiness with long-term industrial and doctrinal change. The centerpiece is a dual-track infantry fighting vehicle package, roughly 205 new KF41 Lynx and about 200 used Marder A3 from Bundeswehr stocks, augmented by an offer to overhaul 183 Greek Leopard 2A4 tanks to the A7 HEL configuration. For Greece, which has wrestled with the trade-offs between buying new, refurbishing old fleets, and revitalizing its defense industry, the proposal is notable for the way it marries capability, financing, and local workshare in a single envelope. The logic of pairing Lynx with Marder is operationally compelling. Marder A3, a proven chassis with robust spares pipelines and well-understood maintenance routines, can arrive sooner and fill urgent gaps in mechanized infantry formations. Lynx KF41, by contrast, represents a substantial leap in protection, situational awareness, and digital architecture, designed to anchor brigade-level modernization into the 2030s. In effect, Marder serves as the bridge while Lynx becomes the destination, reducing the notorious capability valley that many armies face when they retire legacy platforms before their replacements are fielded at scale. The tank element in Germany's package is equally consequential. Upgrading Leopard 2A4 to A7 HEL does more than refresh armor and fire control. It aligns Greece with the most current European Leopard baseline, closes interoperability gaps with key NATO users, and simplifies future procurement of common spares and munitions. In an era where coalition logistics can be the difference between sustained combat power and grounded battalions, commonality is strategic, not cosmetic. For a country with demanding geography, from mountainous interiors to Aegean littorals, extending the heavy punch and night fighting overmatch of Leopard formations will reinforce deterrence while preserving readiness cycles. None of this is cheap, and Berlin knows it. The indicative value around €1.5 billion, with program tails potentially pushing the package north of €2 billion, would be a heavy lift if structured as a traditional, front-loaded buy. Rheinmetall's signal that it can underwrite flexible financing and lengthened amortization reflects a broader European trend. Vendors are increasingly acting as financial engineers as much as industrial primes, building repayment profiles that track with defense budgets rather than exhausting them. For Athens, which must navigate fiscal prudence without starving modernization, that flexibility can be the hinge on which cabinet decisions swing. Local content is where the politics and economics intersect. A pledge that more than a quarter of total work will be executed in Greece, potentially including a dedicated production line and an ecosystem of national subcontractors, recasts the deal as industrial policy as much as defense procurement. The promise is twofold: create high-skilled jobs and nurture sovereign maintenance capacity that reduces dependence on foreign depots. If executed credibly, this would insulate readiness from external bottlenecks and allow the Hellenic army to push more of the sustainment cycle inside its borders, a priority made plain by global supply chain shocks and wartime consumption patterns in recent years. Athens arrives at this juncture after rejecting what looked, on paper, like a bargain: surplus US M2 Bradleys. The catch was that refurbishing those vehicles to an acceptable standard would consume resources comparable to purchasing new platforms. A reminder that free equipment can become fiscally onerous once transport, overhaul, sensors, and survivability enhancements are priced in. That episode sharpened the Greek preference for either cleaner acquisition pathways or upgrades that demonstrably reduce total cost of ownership rather than shifting it forward in the life cycle. It also raised the bar for any offer purporting to deliver both capacity and value. Running in parallel is a domestically attractive Plan B, transforming M113 armored personnel carriers into turreted infantry fighting vehicles through a joint Rafael-Mecha effort. The concept is straightforward: strip to hull, rebuild power packs, fit add-on armor, install a remote weapon station with a 30mm cannon, and spool in modern communications and battle management systems, while keeping assembly largely inside Greece. This pathway leverages sunk costs, extends fleet depth quickly, and seeds local assembly lines with repeatable work. Yet even an ambitiously modernized M113 will not equal a new-build IFV like Lynx in protection, growth margin, or survivability against top attack threats. The question for planners is not either-or, but how to layer both paths so that legacy conversions expand numbers while premium platforms define frontline punch. Operationally, the proposed mix allows the Hellenic Army to recalibrate force structure without pausing readiness. Marders could be used to refresh battalions where the training pipeline can be compressed, allowing Lynx units to absorb a more deliberate integration of new sensors, active protection systems, and network mission suites. Meanwhile, Leopard 2 A7 HEL upgrades would be phased to avoid hollowing out heavy brigades during the transition. Success would hinge on training throughput, depot capacity, and the discipline to retire the least economical legacy hulls rather than spreading maintenance money thinly across too many types. From a regional perspective, timing matters. The Aegean and Eastern Mediterranean remain crowded with competing military modernization programs, and Greece's own deterrence posture has relied on credible heavy formations complemented by air and maritime assets. A structured infusion of modern IFVs and upgraded MBTs would ripple through doctrine, enabling more combined arms maneuver with better protection against anti-armor threats and improved day-night tempo. It would also send a signal about industrial ambition. Greece intends not merely to import capability, but to manufacture and sustain it, a stance that may invite deeper European supply chain integration and future co-development opportunities. There are risks. Local work-share promises can slip if qualifying suppliers takes longer than expected, and industrial offsets sometimes chase headlines rather than hard schedules. Financing solves cash flow problems but does not erase long-term obligations, which can collide with other recapitalization needs in air defense, artillery, or unmanned systems. Introducing two IFV families in quick succession raises the specter of logistical sprawl. Even if Marder is treated as a bridge, guardrails will be necessary to prevent a proliferation of variants that complicate spares and training. Finally, the Leopard upgrade path must be sequenced against global demand for key components, which has tightened as multiple European users race toward similar standards. Still, the upside is substantial if managed aggressively. Greece gains a credible modernization ladder, immediate capacity through Marder, a next-generation backbone with Lynx, a heavy armor overmatch via Leopard 2 A7 HEL, and numerical depth through M113 conversions. The domestic industry gains predictable workloads and a foothold in advanced assembly and sustainment, with spillovers into electronics, composites, and precision machining. The Army gains standardized digital architectures that can host evolving counter-UAS, EW resilience, and sensor fusion tools, making today's procurement decisions relevant to tomorrow's threat envelope. In that light, the German proposal is best read not as a shopping list but as a framework. If Athens chooses to proceed, the decisive factors will be contract enforcement on schedule and work share, disciplined configuration control to keep fleets coherent, and transparent cost tracking across the life cycle rather than just its signature. Done right, Greece can emerge with mechanized forces that are more survivable, more connected, and easier to sustain, backed by an industrial base that can keep them in the fight without waiting on distant depots. In a region where credibility is measured in ready brigades, that is the kind of modernization that deters by existing, not by being promised.